So welcome to the Node.js Node API team meeting for April 16th, 2021. We'll follow our usual approach of looking through the things in milestone 11. Before we get started, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share? If not, let's move on to the things which were tagged for the agenda. The first one I see is the talk submission for OpenJS World.
Yes, so our talk submission was accepted.
Yay!
Yeah, I was quite happy to see that. So are you going to share your screen, Michael?
Yeah, sorry. Let me do that. There we go. Share. Okay, there we go.
Okay, perfect. So officially, the two presenters are Kevin and me, and so I just wanted to just open it up. Nicola and Gabriel had also indicated interest in participating, and I just wanted to verify that if you guys were still up for participating. And then I feel what I should do is contact the organizers just to let them know what we're thinking, instead of just like dumping a video on them at the last minute. But so Nicola and Gabriel, if you scroll back a little bit, Michael, on the
Sure.
on the issue, I think we had earmarked some topics.
Right, here we go. Yep.
So Gabriel and Nicola, are you guys up for this?
Sure. I'm still up for it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I will contact the organizer, just give them a heads up. And apparently it's we need to pre-record it. Michael, if you scroll down to the bottom, I put a link to the notes for the speakers.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is pretty much all of the information that I have. So essentially we need to do a pre-recorded session. And as we see here, it's due on May 19th. What I need to do is get clarification how long we've got. And then I think as a team, we'll need to work on our presentations.
I think it's 30 minutes.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
And I think, yeah, like you might just send them if, you know, maybe hey, we're going to have more people from the team participate. So for example, if like later on you find Kevin wants to do a section or something, you know, as opposed to saying we're going to have these specific extra people.
Okay, very good.
I don't think it really matters too much. Like in this case, it's not like they're funding registration or anything.
Exactly.
But yeah, hey, we're, you know, thanks for accepting us. You know, we're thinking of having a few other people participate. Is that any issue? Kind of thing.
Sorry, Michael. There is Kevin. So
thanks.
Yeah.
Looking over. Where's my participants? There we go. There we go. Perfect. Okay.
And so, Kevin, I don't know if you had any comments you'd like to make on this.
Yeah, so the only question that I had was, if it's 30 minutes, is it 30 minutes for this whole sort of preliminary outline that we wanted to do, or is it 30 minutes per breakout set? Like, is our whole talk one breakout session?
Yeah,
because it says 30 minutes per breakout session.
Yeah, I think I'll get clarification on that.
Yeah, sometimes it's like 25 minutes, 5 minutes per questions, or.
Yeah, I'll get clarification on that.
Okay.
That's usually the absolute max you can use.
Is 30 minutes.
Yeah, because a lot of time there aren't too many questions, right?
Right.
Then I'm thinking we may want to then, once we figure like an outline, from that outline, maybe decide sort of time-wise how long to spend talking about each subject.
Exactly.
Because some are probably more worth talking about more, take more time to talk about rather.
The other question I have is just preparing the video. I have no expertise at all at preparing or editing videos. And so I don't know if we have those skills within the team or not.
I've got OBS set up and can kind of bridge in now. 5 people at the same time would be more than I've ever done, but I think yeah, so I guess I can help with some of that.
Okay.
How many we got Kevin, Gabriel, Nicola, Jim. So yeah, that's 4.
I had envisioned it that we would maybe each be on the screen individually. So
Right.
I might do the introduction and do just some background and then hand it over to Kevin and then hand it over to Gabriel and then
Yep.
hand it over to Nicola. So we would each need to prepare our own videos separately and then somehow get that edited together with the slides into a presentation.
Yeah, I'm not so good at the editing part. I've been doing like the live recording where you can just flow in. But that's certainly an approach too. But then we need somebody who has that video editing side of things.
Right.
It may or may not be that complicated. Like I have like this program called, I think it's called AVI Demox or something like that. It's like an open source program where you can just basically just copy and paste snippets, and you can just basically concatenate them. One thing that we'll want to make sure if we're going to be concatenating videos is that that they all have like the same resolution, they have the same kind of encoding and bit rate and all that, so as to make sure that there's not like this flash in the middle of the presentation, when it switches resolutions or something. So that would be something that we need to line up, which we don't have to do if we're all streaming it into a recording at the given time.
Right. This is, if you look at my picture now, you should see this is something like that I can do, whereas like this window on the right was another person and then the slides were that window in the middle.
Yeah, that's nice.
Right, exactly, Michael. Yes, yeah.
And then just sort of do a flow, because and then it's kind of like you record it live versus trying to edit, because like Gabriel said, you can get into that, like, well, what if things look a little different? And then even doing the transitions can be a bit of a fun.
Yeah.
It'd probably be better to record it live and then edit as needed if we need to remove snippets, like, take things out just for editing purposes, rather than try to join everything together.
Okay.
It's actually like here, can I get this? See, like it depends how sophisticated we want to get. Like you see, I've got now the bar from the Zoom.
Yeah.
Now so even something like that, where if people aren't too big, then you can flow into the different ones.
Right. Okay.
Let me just see if I can spend a little. Let me make it slightly different here. I'm going to duplicate this. Duplicate. Download presentation. So okay, so this one then. Oops. So here's this thing. Right. So now. I'm just trying to see if I can get it into this. Okay, it's into there. No. I think I could get it to that where this bar is like on one of the sides, and then the slides were there. So
yeah,
that would, for me, that's probably the easiest. And then you run through it, and different people can start talking when you get to a different point in the slides. And
Yeah,
maybe not quite as fancy as you'll get it with the mix, but it's a lot less work.
Yeah, definitely. And okay, I think that's a good approach.
Okay. So maybe once we get a little closer, we could, once we have the content, we could do a run through or whatever, and I can help get the actual recording.
Oh, that would be awesome, Michael. Okay, I feel good with that plan. I think that could definitely work.
Yep. Okay, good. Because I think that'll be the less work, less time overall to make it work.
Definitely.
Okay, the first step is to prepare the slides. Is it right?
Correct.
Yep.
And
so yeah, my idea is to reuse in part the slides that we already used in Montreal, and we changed the contents based on all the news that we introduced in last year. So just to reuse all the scheme that we have. If it's okay for you.
Oh yes. One thing the organizers said is they will be supplying a template, so I can get that template to you, Nicola, as soon as I get it.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we can incorporate that template into the slideshow that you already have.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. Anything more to talk about on that one?
No, I think we've got a good start. I'll get in touch with the organizer, and then we can proceed. So the one limitation I have is I am not going to be able to make this meeting for the next 2 weeks, but I'll post whatever information I have, and then I feel we'll still have enough time after I get back in early May to get the whole thing done by the 19th.
Yeah, if we can make progress on the content, like maybe plan that's you said 2 weeks, which is the next 2 weeks in April.
Let's see. I'd have to look at my calendar. So I'll be gone. Yes, exactly. The last 2 Fridays in April, I'll be gone.
Okay.
But I'll be back on the 7th.
So like maybe that the week after that, or the it'd be good to like maybe the week after that plan a run through.
Yes, definitely.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. The blog post, I now am remembering that I didn't get to my sections, but let's open it up.
I was having problems editing this document. I don't know if it's my browser or something.
So you had access, but you couldn't edit it?
Yeah, like I couldn't actually type, like it wasn't rendering correctly, but I put my stuff as a comment. I don't know if I can still, like Jim's line for in addition to, like it goes all the way off the page, like it doesn't word wrap.
Huh.
What browser are you using?
It's the latest updated Chrome.
Huh.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But so I tried to make mine as some notes there, just in markdown format. It would be better to have it in the document so that we can see it, but I just couldn't get it in there.
That is weird. Can you try Netscape or not Netscape? Firefox.
Firefox, yeah.
Workaround.
Right. The question that I had then mainly was, we said on the approach, what's changed? We had something listed for test folder. I'm not sure what that is.
That's the Node.js core tests. We had some macros in there that started with the abbreviation NAPI _ it's usually, most of them are NAPI_call, which is basically a macro that wraps handling the return status and producing an appropriate, I think it's a exception if the status is not okay. That's probably what it refers to. And so we have NAPI call, NAPI assert, NAPI call return void. These macros, they all change to node API, node API call, node API call return void, etc. That's probably what it refers to.
Gotcha. Okay. So I will update that. Let me try a different browser as well.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of is, and I put in my calendar to spend some time on this too. So anything else we should talk about that this week? If not, let's, related to that is the rename. I think, Jim, there was just a few things you were still.
Yeah, if you,
Okay,
that's
go ahead.
something, yeah, if you scroll back a little bit, Michael,
Yep.
I was working on updating the documentation for the build tools. We're in good shape.
Okay.
I've got I got 4 PR submitted, got 3 of them landed. And so the last one, so I feel,
Excellent.
yeah, I think we're in good shape. I did notice, I put a link on this guy.
Right.
Okay, perfect, Michael.
There we go. Okay.
So easy when you got the power to do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know exactly. But I'm wondering, who has edit access on that?
I don't think I do.
I wonder what you need to have. Maybe you need to be like an org owner versus, because I'm thinking most people in the Node.js API team should be able to, can merge things and do all sorts of stuff. Maybe that's an exception. So
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, done.
Okay, so I think we can either close this issue or take it off the milestone.
Should we leave it on until, I guess we have the issue for the blog post, right?
Yeah, the blog post is a separate issue.
Right. So basically you figure this was going to land, so we're
at
done,
some point,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Looks like we are done. Perfect. Good. Well, thanks for all your work on that, Jim. You did a lot, and everybody else too. But that's great.
Good.
And so really, we put out the blog post, and we can put that sort of as we've done what we're going to do on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Stale issues. So I didn't add any to stale, but let's take a quick look. Nobody else has added any, so okay, nothing to talk about there. Tracking issues for the port. I don't remember anything new there. Let's just npm JS. I know last time we saw it's kind of a little bit of a downward thing, but that seemed to be the same as with other things, and now we seem to see it being going back up. So I don't know what's going on that. I don't know that that's necessarily significant or not, but nothing really new there. So okay. So they're reviewing the external examples. I guess, Gabriel, I'm wondering if we should just admit we're not going to do this.
I think that would be a safe admission.
We're likely just not going to.
They have been published as far as I know, right? So I'm sure
that's right.
I'm sure a lot of ICEs have already.
It's just been, yeah, it's getting on a year. So I think we'll just admit that we would have liked to have, but we got other things to spend our Node API time on. And enable debug testing for add-ons. I think that one's still worthwhile as a reminder, but haven't done anything on that. Creating the matrix of tested methods. So Jack, I know you've been kind of working on that front. Anything you want to talk about this week? Need help on anything? Sort of how's that going?
Yeah, so like this week I've been just working on like adding some tests to the symbol class, and like Kevin brought up like an issue with like the well-known function. So like it doesn't, like when you register like a symbol from like either JS side or like the C++ side, like using like symbol.for, it doesn't actually like when you call well-known on that symbol, it doesn't actually return the symbol. It just returns undefined. Guess like yeah. So I was just wondering if I can like get some help with that.
It's okay. I didn't quite follow. So Kevin, go ahead.
So this stems from an issue. Let's see. I think it's issue 919.
Yeah.
Sorry, 909 or
919.
919. Okay. 919. Right.
And this person was trying to get a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently we have an API that is symbol well known. And he was trying to use that to get the node.js util inspect custom symbol.
Right.
And that wasn't working. And and I think it may be because of the implementation of well known. That's
Okay.
the implementation of well known, which calls that equivalent of JavaScript, which is different than calling symbol.for. And I don't know if the well-known implementation should be symbol.for instead of trying to call just a get on the symbol class.
So the symbol.for, is that generate you a new symbol for the name?
I think it depends on like if the thing already exists in your like registry. If it does, it just returns the same symbol back.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So that
it gets it from the symbol registry.
If it exists, but otherwise it will create it for you, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And symbol, the name, that'll just give you something if it exists, right?
Yeah, that's just like a normal object accessor on the symbol class to try to get that property, which is why it's returning undefined in Jack's test, because it doesn't exist. And the same reason why it was undefined in the comment above or whatever that the user was having.
Right. So node, let's just see what we say for like well known to me sounds like something that's already there. But let's look at the docs. Let's see what it says it should do.
It appears that we don't even have
the
document.
I'm looking at the its header for well known, and it is documented in the header as get a public symbol, e.g. symbol.iterator. So symbol.iterator. So the symbol class, the symbol class seems to have some static properties that are sort of documented in the spec, it looks like. And so those properties, so then yes, it is a plain old property accessor, but you have to choose the name of the property very
Oh,
carefully because
yes,
it has to
I
be
think
specified.
I know.
So yeah, I don't even know why we need this, because like, accessing static properties is pretty simple. Like it's purely a convenience method, it looks like. And you're right, it may be confusing that symbol, like this well-known, you would think that would get like the .for behavior, but you don't. So
well, except that it's almost like I read it as give me one that's like a well-known symbol, like, you know, I'm getting, I don't know, object, or like, you know, even one of the predefined ones versus ones that people may have added.
Yeah, either way, this is what it does. So
yeah, I think we should document it.
Oh, what?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm trying. What's an example of a well-known symbol?
The iterator
primitive?
property, apparently. That's
Iterator.
yeah, symbol.iterator is the example given in the comment in the napi.h file.
Right.
I guess these are all like, you know, these are things that are on the.
Okay, and that's what it does. That's what the test does. Is it retrieves symbol.iterator, and it checks that the result that you can use it to get like the next thing, because it is an iterator. That's what it looks like.
See, the question is, if you use a for and it gives you a new symbol, I'm not sure that that's accessible through a symbol dot something. Is it?
Right. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I forget how this works. Like,
so I suspect the well-known.
Well, there are like there's like there have to be for example, you can attach like at a symbol called instance of, you can attach like a function to a class where you can customize whether it considers an instance, whether it considers another JavaScript object to be an instance of this class or not. So you can customize the behavior of the instance of operator by attaching a method to a class at a certain symbol, and that symbol needs to be retrievable because it has to be the same for every class. And so yeah, so for example, yeah, symbol.hasInstance. Yeah, there that's an example. Yes, he has instance. So you retrieve the hasInstance property from the symbol object. The resulting value is a symbol, and then you can use that resulting value as the key to set a property on another class, and the value of that property will be a function which the engine will call to determine whether any given object is an instance of that class or not, instead of performing the default instance of operator action. So
right.
So then these so then well-known refers to these static properties.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay. So then a test would be checking that an access to well-known of iterator is in C++ has the same value as symbol.iterator in JavaScript.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think another test would be like figuring out whether, like, if the for returns a symbol, should that add on to that should probably doesn't add on to the well-knowns.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Right. So we could have the test that also says, okay, well, I'm going to get a new symbol from for. I'm going to double check that well-known doesn't return that. Right. Like
yeah. Basically, I think the symbol.for, this allows like an application to build up sort of a registry of symbols, used internally by the application.
But that's kind of like, you know, just it's making sure that doesn't somehow get returned by well-known, right? It's the sort of the other, make sure that we can return the ones we expect and that we don't return one which we didn't expect.
Yeah, that would be an additional test, yes.
Okay.
So does that answer the question?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Any other things you had questions or wanted some help on?
No, I think that's everything.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go back to where is the issues, right? So now looking at issues in the repo.
I have a heads up on the Node core repo.
Okay.
Recently, there is a changes regarding the primordials in the Node core on the weak reference and registry things, and that caused a crash regarding issue we previously faced on the second pass callback, and there is a issue landed on the master to unbreak the CI. The pull request number is 382 and 50. It's marked as fast checked, so it's already landed with a. It's already landed. Yes.
So sorry, that was
382 50.
250.
So say that again. 8250.
8250.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one.
The issue is still around there, but this PR just alleviates the double free crash, but it introduced a use of free around the finalization. So the ultimate fix is still on the 8,000. We have still to land the fix to prevent use of free, but that requires another review from Gabriel. But I've seen the CI is all green, so the left actions to the issue around it is that should we revert the fixes, the temporary fixes around the finalization and land this one, or we just left it as is?
So 3250, you're basically saying we would revert 38250 and then land this one.
Yeah, it just fix the double free issue, but it introduced a use of the free, so it just alleviates the issue, but you know, the core problem is not resolved yet.
Right. So I guess you want Gabriel's to look at this, and then we would. I think this one looked good to me, so it's probably. And if you don't think the other one resolves the issue, we should land this one, and then, like you said, revert the other one.
Oh yes, and for the Gabriel's previous fix, I have commented on it that since the let me find the link. It's 378 and 2.
37802.
Yeah. So just on the bottom of the comments, I have commented that while testing around the issue, I found that this fix doesn't apply to the core problem. You scroll up, please.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The persistent is weak will be always false in the situation of second pass callback, since we have already reset the persistent in the first pass callback regarding the V8 API contract. So this check is always failed, and the fixes around the provided by the PI is always not being run.
So you're saying we don't need to backport this one, or?
Yeah, it's not actually working as expected.
You know, I'm kind of wondering if it might just be simpler to do the fix that we were going to do originally when we added this removing the week thing. And I think that's what James has done. Like if you look at the comment for the first PR regarding this issue, one of the things that we were going to do as an alternative is to just have like an extra flag, and I think that's what James introduced.
What was it called?
Yes, the flag will still be used after free, right? Since we have already collected in the environment teardown, but we are still referencing it and use the pointer in the second pass call. So it still have a problem on the use of the free.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, like I think the this 38,000 makes sense in terms of like the thing we're passing to the callback needs to live long enough.
Yeah.
And
okay,
it doesn't like when you look through it, it actually doesn't change. It took me a little while to kind of go through it, but once I understood it, it's like it doesn't change the functionality except for making sure that thing we pass into the second pass callback will be alive when it runs.
Right, yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah, so okay, so basically it sort of throws it up in the air and then catches it when it gets deleted, right?
It basically says, okay, if we've called the second pass callback, we're going to make sure that the thing that was passed to it is only deleted in that second class callback.
Yeah,
second pass
yeah.
callback.
The V8 doesn't provide any means to cancel the second pass callback. I've checked the V8 issue so.
Okay.
But it's
right.
very tricky on V8 side since there are multiple entries on the V8 garbage collection on second pass callback.
And it's kind of like adding the extra level of indirection lets us still say, oh, this doesn't need to run because we've done it. But we've deleted everything except for this parameter, and we can set the parameter. We still have the reference to the parameter when we do that, so we can set it to point to null. So the callback itself can say, oh, well, I got nothing to do. Just delete this thing that was passed to me. So it lets us still have the same level of control, just making sure that we're not using something that was deleted.
Okay, all right, okay. So like I'm still trying to figure out why we would be why would the flag alone we would be using after free? Like why would finalize get called if the instance is destroyed?
I mean, when we schedule the second pass callback before the node add-on API environment is being tear down, and then we run the teardown, but the second pass callback is still not being invoked yet.
Yep.
So the reference is being destroyed, right?
Okay. Okay. Yes.
The platform and the V8 schedules the second pass callback, so the reference to the reference object is invalidated, and that causes a use after free.
Right. Yes. So okay. So the environment teardown has already destroyed the object, and then the second pass callback happens. Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Oh, while testing around the second pass callback, I have noticed that we have using, let's say, set immediate in the code finalizers
I see.
Node core,
I see what you're
and
doing
that
here.
causes a similar problems regarding the finalization.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, this is a good solution. Yeah. Okay. So instead of passing the reference as the weak callback parameter, you pass a pointer to the reference as a weak callback parameter,
Yeah, right.
and then you set that pointer to null when the reference gets destroyed, and then you delete it. Okay. Good.
Yes. It's actually a pointer to pointer to
yes,
the
yes,
reference.
yes,
right?
yes. Okay. Yeah, this is a good solution. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. All right. Well, Where's the approve button?
Yeah, press the approve. So then, Legindicast, you'll land this and revert the other one, right?
Yeah, I can submit the revert.
Okay, sounds good. Anything more? Anything more to talk about this one?
Oh, just the one, like I mentioned, that there are multiple cases that in the finalization, or like say, node buffer and primarily it's node buffer that we set a immediate with the finalization. So that caused a similar problem. So we have to fix the issue around the node buffer finalization. But I didn't see uprising crashes regarding one, but I didn't find a stable reproduction, but I just randomly ran into the crash while testing the second pass go back.
Okay, so there's another case where it's a similar, we need to add a level of indirection.
Yeah, so while thinking about the design of the finalization, I'm thinking that if the promoting the finalization and the environment diagram before the actual environment, not core environment teardown is a reasonable holistic fix around the finalization issues, and the cannot calling into JavaScript issues, since we can spin the loop and run join the loop tasks before we running the actual node core environment teardown, and we won't face any issues regarding the finalization, add-on finalization again.
Okay. It does sound like if we can make that work, that sounds better for the developers too. So
yeah, the developers don't have to face random not calling to JavaScript issue again, right?
okay, while we're here, let's look at if there's anything else. This one, I guess, support inheritance. I guess nothing too new on that. It's a couple weeks ago, but let's see. This one we talked about that. This is the backport of 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so nothing too new there. Let's look in Node add-on API. So Node. Okay, are there any ones in particular? I guess this one on CLR, is there any concern over adding in a define, which was what I was suggesting, like something like this, which would exclude the features that require something that CLR doesn't support?
What is CLR?
I think it's one of the Windows runtimes.
Yeah. Windows runtime, a managed runtime.
Or language runtime.
Yeah, you're not able to use std mutex if you're using CLR. So he's having issues with the async progress worker, even though he's not using that in his code. So
Okay, build.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's what made sense. Like, okay, it's like why it's a pretty simple thing. It doesn't affect anybody else.
Yeah.
It helps use it there. Yeah, you're limited in what you can use, but properly documented doesn't seem to harm anything. So
Yeah.
that's that one. I think then, so we've talked about the stuff Jack's working on. I haven't looked at this.
I'm interested in the PR on the node add-on API. The number is 930. While I've been implementing the maybe type around the on the while the C++ exception is not enabled, I found that we have a lot of node add-on API interface is not designed for the is not well designed for the C++ exceptions disabled. That is to say, when exceptions is disabled, there is no means to observe the API if the API is successful or not. Like say, currently the object set in node add-on API returning void either on the success or failure. So when exceptions is disabled, there is no way to observe if the operation is a success or not. So the issue is also around the bracket accessing with C++ accessors, and the iterators will also introduce the non-observable issue around the iterating on the object keys, since we can proxy the enumerating on the object on keys with proxy, and in the proxy we can throw arbitrary JavaScript exception. So that will cause the that would make it very easy to make the program work not as the expected behavior. Since when the exceptions is disabled, we have to check every step of the node add-on API code is success, but there is no compiler guarantees that we do the check. And that will cause a crash, since the every node add-on API code is wrapped with the NAPI throw if failed macro, and that macro would cause a throw on already pending exception, and that would cause the program to crash. So it will make the developers harder to maintain a robust add-on while the exception is disabled.
I guess the thought that came to mind is, should we offer some features which are only available if exceptions are enabled?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the issue that when only enable those bracket accessing and iterators while the exception is enabled, so that we can safely say when the exception is disabled, you have to check every operation on the calling into JavaScript is tested, is checked that no exception is thrown, or you have to handle the exception. Just like what we do in Node core, we have to make sure the JavaScript exception is properly handled.
But like if you're using like a square bracket operator for like setting a property, let's say, right? Then it is your responsibility to check exceptions afterwards anyway, right? Like if you've chosen to turn off exceptions, then you have to say, you know, is pending exception.
Yeah,
right?
but for the iterator case, that means for each iterating, like the first statement in the for loop we will have to check the pending exceptions.
Okay. Yes.
that seems very intuitive and unreasonable to me, and that for developers it will be hard to maintain such a add-on. It seems to me.
Maybe we only have a few minutes left, and I think we should talk about one other issue. Maybe open an issue to us to put some of the discussion and suggestions in. I think would be good.
Yeah.
Because just the one other one I thought would be good to just quickly touch on is the one we're trying to get done before we do a release, right? This one. So I know I'd spent a little time looking at it. I know, Kevin, you took a little bit of time looking at it. My question for you was like, is there some way we could change the test to either avoid the case that you'd mentioned or make it like more repeatable or something like that?
I was thinking about it, and I don't know how, because that second to last step there, the native thread finishes looping. Like the native thread is basically just using the thread safe function at will, and we're expecting it to eventually get a closing call because it was aborted. And I don't know how to make some sort of synchronization there without relying on, because it seems like that if the set immediate call is never executing, then we would not be able to do synchronization through JavaScript or something. I don't know. Like the only thing I can think of is naively just like keep trying to make calls, but it's not a real fix, you know?
Like, is there a timeout somewhere or?
It's not a timeout. It's just that the native thread has 10, it makes 10 calls.
Right.
And there's a delay between each call. And the only thing that I can see is that it's just not becoming aborted before the 10 calls finish. So something really simple would be like increasing the number of calls made or increasing the time between the calls. But then it's also like, is it odd that it would go 1.8 seconds without the set immediate callback ever?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's I think that's kind of what I was what I was aiming for, because if I remember correctly, this test also exists in core, right? It looks a little different because it uses thread safe function directly, but yeah, that it is like an intentional race condition, right? To make sure that you can abort, because obviously there has to be a race condition in order for the abort to work, because the thread just keeps doing what it's doing, right? But yeah, there is a possibility that the set immediate won't happen, which is why the thread should have plenty of time. It should be super, super busy for a very long time, while at the same time progressing, because you can't hang it for indefinite time, because then if the set immediate does happen, the thread is hung, right? So, but it has to be kind of a race. But why wouldn't the set immediate never happen? That's what I don't understand. Like, it doesn't happen in 1.8 seconds. I mean, what is keeping the event loop so busy that it never calls the set immediate? That's what I don't get. It shouldn't be, because we're not doing anything on the event loop.
That's
okay.
also
unfortunately, I've got to drop out, but maybe I'll make one of you the owner so that you can continue to chat. Sorry, I'll make Kevin the host. Okay, so if we can continue the discussion in the issue, and you guys can continue after I drop off, but I gotta go.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Yep.
Bye.
Yep, talk to you later. Bye. Okay,
right.
so
okay. Let me share my screen. I don't think I've ever given Zoom access to share, so it may system preferences. But yeah, so we can kind of continue discussing. Like, I don't know, like 1.8 seconds seems like a long time.
Yeah, plenty of time to get an immediate callback through. Yeah. So that's weird that it's not happening. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to debug that, I guess. There's just no other way. An alternative that you might want to consider, like temporarily, is to just keep producing numbers instead of just quitting after 10. Just ignore the fact that you're only supposed to produce 10 numbers and just keep looping. See if it eventually comes through. You know, see if it's like a systemic issue or if it really is just a matter of timing. Because if I remember correctly, I set that number as a number defined at the top of the file, right? and I also export that number to JavaScript, right, as a constant on the exports, right? Just so that you don't have to specify it once in JavaScript and once in C++, right? And so, what if you raise that number to like 100? You know, then
Yeah.
you know that might be, you know, it might be enough, you know. But I know it's arbitrary, and I couldn't think of a better solution than to just kind of keep the thread busy while the main thread does the set immediate so as to abort.
Yeah, that's all that I can think of too, is just try to keep it more busy with increasing the time or increasing the calls. So I guess, should we try doing that for now?
I mean, there may be another solution, right? Which is to use an additional mutex, right? And it's kind of cheating if you think about it, right? Because you create an additional mutex. You basically create a second synchronization mechanism, right? And then you make the thread wait on that mutex. From the main thread, you set the mutex after you've issued the abort, right? And then the thread wakes up and, oh, look, lo and behold, it's closing, right? So then, you know what I mean? Like, you use a second synchronization mechanism, right? Because the idea is, I mean, the purpose of the test is to see whether the fact that the thread say function is closing can successfully be conveyed to the thread, right? If it can, well, it can, right? And you have proven that it has successfully been conveyed to the thread, right? The fact that you used an additional synchronization mechanism is arguably not part of the test, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the other solution, you know.
So then the set immediate, which is triggering the abort, would then also set some mutex.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'll see if I can work with something with that then.
Yeah, because the thing is, it does in a way test the fact that triggering the abort has immediate effect, right? Because triggering the abort should be immediately, like atomically visible on every thread, right? So if you trigger the abort and in the next instruction the thread reads it, it should be there, right? If it's not, then there's a problem with thread safe function, right? And so you know, the way to make sure that it gets read after it gets written on the main thread is to have this mutex, which causes the secondary thread to sleep. So that might be a better solution. It just kind of feels like cheating. Like you know, the solution we have now feels more natural because that's how it would happen, like in real life. Is the thread just keeps running, and all of a sudden it gets a closing, and okay, what does it do then, right?
Exactly.
But I don't think we can replicate the real life conditions for the purposes of what is to be a very short and finite test, right? And so, you know, where the timings are very crucial, right? Because I mean, the idea is that in real life the thread runs forever unless it gets a closing, right? Because it's a stream, it keeps producing data, whatever, right? So there's good reason why it's running forever, right? But we can't replicate that in the test. We can't leave open the possibility that it's going to run forever because then the test will sometimes hang, right? So maybe the cheating is okay for the purpose of the test.
Right. Okay, I'll see if I can throw an implementation for that together then.
Cool. All right, thanks.
All right. Well,
okay, I think it's
I
you
couldn't
to
share
the
my
meeting.
screen because I haven't been able to. It was the first time to do it, and you have all of the permissions and whatnot.
Yeah. No worries. No worries. That's fine. All right. So I think you have to end the meeting, and when you click leave, it says it should say end meeting for all, and then that'll end the meeting for all of us.
There we go. All right. So then, does anybody else have anything they would like to say before we end? All right. Then
See you all next
everyone enjoy the rest of the day and have